We're out here in Seabrook, Texas, and we're going to do a health check on some OSCO VS-GSWGs. So I'll hit some key points with y'all here. The cover panel off of this arm assembly, and you want to inspect your actual trough train here. Make sure there's not any excess sag. And also you want to look to see if these bolts have been bent for any reason. The reason being is if it's over traveling its limits at all and these sprockets come in contact, they can bend those bolts. So always check that. And the biggest thing here is you want a little bit of droop in the chain. Well, you can't avoid the droop in the chain unless you over tighten it, stretching it, but it really shouldn't be sitting onto the bottom of this trough is all. Come in here and make sure your main drive chain hasn't gotten loose and your limit chain hasn't gotten loose. They're all really nice and secure, because otherwise you find that they're loose. You want to check to see if these bearing holders have slipped at all. Everything looks good there. Come in here and make sure your limit cams don't have any excess play in them. They'll wiggle just slightly, but nothing that is overt. You know, otherwise if they get excess wear, you need to plan to replace them before they become a problem. Operate them and check for any type of weird movement in this limit screw and this brass bushing and this brass bushing here. If you see it walking, that can cause that can be an indication of a problem. You want to come in here and press on all of these plug-in connectors to see if any of them have creeped out through thermal expansion. Even your loop detectors. All these connectors along the bottom. See that one right there just moved? That's one of the loop connectors. Come in here and very carefully take off the cover to your high voltage supply. What you want to do is set your meter and prepare to check your min. Basically you want to check your voltage drop on your incoming power supply while you're operating this machine to make sure it's within thresholds. I'm literally going to take a voltage reading off this connector. I'm going to operate the gate and see what the voltage drops to, calculate the percentage and make sure it's within acceptable range, because you're also checking their power supply to this machine, because they could have a problem with the cables coming underground. They could have a problem with the breaker. They could have a problem with the main leg supply to the breaker box. So you want to check your voltage drop on that too. So here we go. I'm going to set my meter to check for the voltage drop. I'm checking for minimum. Right now we're at a stable 120.9 volts. Here's about to close. I'm going to see what it drops down to. They're operating nicely. You want to do a meg ohm test for each one of your ground loops. So hook to your earth ground rod, hook to one of your ground loops, each one of your ground loops. And test it. This one tests good. I'll do that for every ground loop. This preventive maintenance, you just want to put some chain lube on both these, the drive chain and the limit chain, and then your arm assembly chain, and then you have some pillow block bearings here with a grease gun, so we'll get that and apply some grease. You even want to check things like Maglocks. These screws have been slowly working their way out, so we're going to remove these, put some thread lock on them, and put them back in place. I forgot to mention in videotape that I tested the friction plate assemblies to make sure they slipped under the appropriate conditions, but also didn't slip under normal conditions. Sorry about not documenting that. I got distracted by the customer.